Alright guys, so if you were watching my stream on Twitch on the first day of release, which was yesterday, you guys have seen me probably having some fun with this deck, my Akshan, Draven, Riven. Now, this is an updated version of the one you saw in yesterday's video, and it's because I've updated all of my decks. If you check out the site, all of the decks that I was talking about in the video have been kind of tweaked since I've had time to play and mess around with them, get a feel for what they need. And this is a pretty fun deck. I had a ton of fun with it. You can do some really unique and honestly some pretty cool big brain combos when it comes to getting your leveled up Akshan and getting payoff with it with your Warlord's Palace and your Warlord's Horde. And I'd say it's a pretty solid, something like tier 2 deck. I don't think that Akshan or Viego lend themselves to tier 1 decks, but that's fine. They're okay, so Viego is a little bit weaker, but Akshan's fine. Akshan's biggest problem is like slotting into, you know, decks that are kind of like tight on champion slots, but he's a really solid value champion that is going to be like, even if he gets removed, he's great. He will, in almost any kind of Shurima deck, actually be able to at least give you the Warlord's Palace, which is great value. Super solid champion, and honestly the best thing about Akshan, he's an amazing enabler for Shapestone, which is one of Shurima's staple cards at this point. So if you guys want to try out this deck, go ahead and check out the pinned comment, because I put a link to this deck as well as others there, where you'll be able to find updated versions. I do plan on playing this more tomorrow, or if you're watching this today, I'm recording this the day before. As you're watching this right now, I'm probably live on Twitch if you're watching right around when the video is released. And I'll be messing around with this deck at least a little bit in the day, maybe some other decks, and figuring out exactly like where I want this to be, maybe making a couple of changes. But I had a ton of fun. And it has a really unique kind of like combo-y playstyle, especially when you get to the big Akshan turns, which take a lot of different inputs. And sometimes you have to find some pretty clever lethals, as you'll see from today's video. But yeah, that's it. I don't want to, you know, take up any more of your time away from what could be watching the games we played today. So enjoy the games we played today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So yeah, I mean, you'll notice that the Akshan landmark is, in faster games like this, it's often not going to flip fast enough. It's basically just like a not run out of steam card, right? Like Akshan's just an early card that enables landmark, and sometimes you're getting the horde. I will say the fact that Brothers Bond doesn't give you the extra target actually does matter for sure. Like, it is a little sad. It's like sometimes the level up actually does just need to be accelerated. This is Viego Freljord. I'm guessing this is like a full control deck or an endure deck where he's just like doesn't want to play Nasus. He just wants to play endure instead. It's one or the other. And I have to mulligan those matchups very differently. I have no goddamn clue. Endure would be funny. Yeah, I mean, against like a control deck, I'd keep Ruin Runner. But of course, that's insane against like an endure deck. It's Iceborne Legacy. I mean, yes, we can't rule that one out either. It could be Iceborne Legacy. So the earlier we play Akshan, the earlier he starts the countdown. That's valuable enough. The fact that it played Everose and Sentry basically means it's the control version. The fact that he passed there is pretty interesting. A lot of like avalanche hands are good here. I'm totally fine if he's gonna avalanche this, especially if I'm in Draven. We're attacking on odds. We don't have any blade fragments. Looks like Draven is choice. And with the single axe, like Akshan can attack into stuff like Tavern Keeper plays here, which is nice. Like Draven kind of protects Akshan in that way. All right, so this feels good. This is like the kind of matchup where Akshan should be getting value. This is the kind of matchup that Akshan was like is basically going to be best in, right? Where he's getting off a few strikes. Obviously, he's not striking here. He gets off a few strikes. You are getting some, you know, some long-term value, and in a slower matchups like this, you could even sometimes complete Horde. I will say it's possible that, I mean, if Horde basically never completes, it looking a little bit slower than it was in my head before, then yeah, I mean, Akshan definitely could end up being like a little bit underwhelming. Should be kind of sad. So if he attacks in here, he's not eliminating the Reckoner. He's a control player. If I pass, he'll basically always pass back no matter what, and I don't really care about that attacking. There's no reason to go in for a Ruined Reckoner this turn. This is the easiest Riven of my life. Next turn, we want to level Draven with Ruined Reckoner, I think. All right. So it's turn 5. This is often the Viego turn. I can basically just open attack with everything. I think this everything open attack looks pretty good. There's a good chance Riven dies. Oh my god, that noise. Why are there... Okay, hang on. Let me close the... Alright. So the question is, I mean, do we develop the Reckoner into the attack? It makes me better against like stuff like Viego. It kind of telegraphs my play a little bit, and it makes me vulnerable to weird stuff like, I don't know, Grasp? Is he running Grasp? Not really. I do think developing into the attack is a little bit better in general. I do have Absolver if he's playing something really weird, I guess. Like, if he Grasps and I Absolver the Draven, that is actually a really big blowout. That's huge. Scourge. So, I mean, a lot of hands. He played Scourge from the right side. He had a pretty decent Scourge earlier, and he's at 2 mana. Playing Scourge from the right side means he's had it for a while, and that means it's Mask Mother Scourge. Mask Mother Scourge is pretty scary here. It'll basically stop my extra attack, right? Like, I don't think my extra attack is ever enabled right now. Your attack Keck by? Yeah, exactly. Your attack Keck by. I think I basically just have to full attack right now and probably just lose the Midnight Raid off of that Scourge. That's a little awkward. But I think this is the best play. I mean, he could be doing like a really weird bluff where it's not Mask Mother, but I'm actually pretty okay if he does take a block with Scourge here. Like, that would be fine. The thing is, a control deck like this, I don't think is going to be running stuff like Troll Chant. So if he takes a block like this, I mean, it could be a glimpse. Second glimpse is definitely very possible to try to like stop Draven from leveling up and waste the axes. And when that happens, I do have Midnight Raid, which will still level Draven off of the 2 axes here, which I'm fine with. You can also discard Raid sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes I can discard Raid in areas like this. He's going in to try to kill the Akshan, which I am actually fine with here. There was a consideration to not attack with Akshan, I guess. I think I can't mind that. Yeah, how could I mind that? I think that block is probably proper for him. Yep. So usually if he's blocking like this, it is second glimpse, I'm guessing. Although, I mean, I guess we'll see. And the Blade Fragments... I think the Blade Fragments is probably going to be worth less than the Runeweaver in this game. You can also Absolver the Akshan if you did block like that. Yeah, that's true. I don't want to commit Absolver early here. Absolver might be more of a 2 of in this deck. Yeah, Flash Freeze is pretty good. This deck does run Flash Freeze sometimes. This is a pretty big blowout. He's still like losing the Mask Mother option unless he has second Scourge, in which second Scourge makes him super happy here. Although, I mean, funnily enough, I still get to raid. I guess, so this is really weird. I mean, my Akshan gets a free raid no matter what. And if I commit Absolver into him, he's dealing a little bit of extra damage. This can kind of like force out my own Absolver, which is, I think, a little bit too bad. It might be best to just like force an exchange with the Ruined. I can try that. Did attack order matter there? It did a bit, yes. The reason I put Akshan on the left side is because I was more worried about him blocking Akshan than Draven, because I had 2 axes in hand and I didn't mind taking an aggressive discard on them. But I mean, in a certain situation, it's arguable you could put Draven on the left, or especially if I'm not attacking with Akshan at all. But you get Horde after Akshan strikes, yeah. But it doesn't, it still forces out the Absolver. All right, so here's his Viego. It's pretty slow. It's pretty chunky. We've got our Relic of Power, and now we can use Absolver to actually like push damage. Riven is still going to be a little slow this game, but with the 2 Runeweavers, we actually might have something here. And it's, I mean, oh man, if I'm open attacking with a wide board, it could almost be grant all allies, like if I play the Runeweavers first. Wow, that's kind of weird. Grant all allies +1. It's not bad. It plays really deep into stuff like Withering Wail though. I think I actually might just be happiest with a Shapestone here. Shapestone might play around the most things. I could also just go for value and literally just get another horde set up. I think it's like too valuable having this this access. The thing about Viego in like a full control deck, I mean, he's gonna be slow. He's gonna be a little bit chunky. But I mean, he levels really, really slowly here, right? So we've got the 3 blades. We discarded the overwhelm fragments, which means we currently might need 1 additional blade. And we have the 50-50 off of the blade weapon health here. He's at 8 mana under Ruination, which is kind of nice, although I think we can beat any hand of Ruination. Riven can level at focus speed if I hit the 50-50 on this right now. And we're actually getting the Warlord's Horde. Okay, I've got to math this out. Jesus. I can get the Warlord's Horde this turn, especially with the additional +2. I want to go wide on my buffs because Riven is already a little bit too valued. And let's start with the first buff on Akshan. I think we need to 50-50 the Overwhelm here to have great odds. We can start by overwhelming the Akshan. We're going to want the blade on Riven, right? So we want to use the rest of the other things on the Akshan. And we're definitely getting to our horde here. Akshan already has quick attack, so quick attack literally doesn't matter who I press it on. I guess it's just going to be this. And then the +2. And the +2, I think for the sake of splitting our buffs effectively, it still wants to go on Akshan over the Riven. So that's horde going down to 3 mana. Or sorry, three charges. Freeze. We have to play around second freeze, basically. So that's why we're splitting our buffs on 2 targets. But with Riven having 4 health, she's safer against some weird things he could have. We have the ability to horde this turn. The horde, God, the horde gives the 0 mana thing, right? It's, God, what are the choices between, what does this card do again? Sentinel, so absolvers grant all enemies vulnerable, create a 0-cost copy of the strongest ally that died this game. Strongest ally that died this game was Draven, I guess it would have to be. What are the other ones? Yeah, the draw 2, your cards cost 1 less this round, which is really, really interesting because that can allow me to like do a weird Shapestone gimmicky combo. And the blade fragment at focus speed. So I get the horde if I literally just go in for the absolver here. Vengeance. I mean, he's under freeze, he's under everything. I think I go for the draw too. I think I just play to try to blow him out. Spell shield. Give your champions +2/+2 in spell shield. Wait, that's pretty good. All right, I think you guys have a pretty good point. I think we should give both of our champions +2/+2 in spell shield. That's a pretty good idea. Let's do that. So that means we want to use the last glinting blade fragment. Okay, you guys got me. +2/+2 in spell shield is pretty good here. I'll agree to that. And it's 0 mana, right? They're all 0 mana. It's pretty good. It's not bad. It's aight. All right. Jesus. Yeah, this gets a little bit disgusting. And this is why, like I was saying, this is kind of like Akshan's like dream matchup. And there shouldn't be any way for him to win anymore. I don't think he can possibly block this much. Like, it should be literally impossible, right? Alright, we're good. Woo! Alright. But yeah, that's kind of like what Akshan does in this deck. Like, he doesn't have to give you value in every single game. Like, in a lot of cases, he'll force removal or he'll like give you like one of the predicts. But in some matchups, he'll just win you the game. And it's kind of the idea here. Like, I don't know. I really like this playstyle. It's very, very flexible, and you will on occasion just have to ass pull some crazy stuff. Ruination over. Viego downed. Like, Viego, I mean, I personally like faster strategies in general. Like I'm not like an aggro player, but I like fast bursty kind of combos, right? I'm not like one of those just like, you know, jerk off to just like the karma being enlightened for multiple turns, like intentionally running bad cards with karma just so I can like jerk off harder to my enlightened karma. And like Viego is kind of more in that direction of things. Like Viego just wants to sit there and just chill. I'll definitely play Viego later today, but Akshan is a lot more exciting for me personally. Tried Akshan Taric. I don't think so. Akshan Targon isn't bad. Yeah, like this kind of version, you wouldn't run him with Taric. Taric doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, there will be some Akshan Targon versions that'll definitely give us a run for our money. Like, that's not bad. They keep 1 Shapestone. I think keeping the 1 biggest fan is nice here. It's also on Akshan. I think I'll go for this. I'm still not sure how I feel about this Vagabond card. Hello. Oh. Seeker. Like, the Palace is pretty good value, and your Akshan being leveled on play sometimes actually does matter. Zoe. I will say Absolver is probably a 2 of in this deck. Like, Absolver's, it's good, and it is going to like push some of the top decks into being even better, but it's not as nuts. Like, it can be a little clunky sometimes. It will be more of a 2 of in some decks than a 3 of. Like in Sivir, or sorry, like, yeah, Sivir Zed, it might be a 2 of as well in a deck like that as well. Yeah, Chip is really terrifying. When you can actually like have enough cards that non-committally make Chip a 1-mana 3/3, Chip actually does get out of control pretty fast. Like, Chip is, Akshan makes Chip a lot better. That's a really, really, really nice combo. And I mean, if I'm going for like the value trade, it's Runeweaver for the mana points. Requiring Vagabond is something that you could hit the board earlier. I think I'm not in a hurry to make it hit the board right now, though. Man, Draven definitely feels like... I'm running... Am I running 3 Whirling Death in this deck still? I'm either running 2 or 3. I haven't been drawing it. Draven does feel like, without Whirling, it's a lot less just like nuts. I could level my Draven right now if I'm committed to doing that much. You know, I'd have to Absolver and double Axe. It'd be a fast level up, and we have like Ruined Reckoner as well. I could Absolver, do single Axe, just like keep Draven alive through his own block. I think I do want to like trick out Draven here. Like, this Absolver is fine, and he's tapped under, which is the only reason I'm doing this. I could go for an aggressive discard. I could actually just go for leveling Draven. I don't think I'll really need the Blade Fragments here, so that one's going to be a free discard anyway. I think this is fine. The one problem with this is like the Warlord's Palace, basically, I'm breaking out the Warlord's Palace if I'm committing the Draven level up to this turn. Because I chose to play the Vagabond instead of the Runeweaver. Yeah, both options are kind of awkward. Yeah, the Vagabond might honestly just be... It's like a quite significantly worse version of Akshan. I don't know about Vagabond. This is such a weird consideration. Don't worry, guys. We won't kill Chip. I think banking here has to be a little bit too valuable. I probably am going to need to Reckoner next turn. Either that or Vagabond. If I'm Vagabonding, banking here is worth quite a bit less. Let's try Vagabond. I want to test it out. I think Reckoner is probably a slightly better play next turn. But if I'm going for Vagabond, I think Preservarium here makes more sense. Because like I can tap out on my own attack turn, like that's fine. The fact that we have Spinning Axes is basically what allows us to tap out on our own attack turn, and this gives us an extra drop deck into our defensive turn, which is potentially quite important. Profiteer also might be bad. Profiteer could definitely be a little bit awkward here. I think this deck does want to lean more into spells. I do have enough units that I don't think I'll need more, because it is kind of like a deck that does want to just like blow out with a combo. Profiteer, yeah, easily might not be worth it. I was kind of worried about not having enough units, but so far we have pretty good reliability to our units here, which is solid. I could use the one Blade Fragment on her just to like give her an attack. I do really value that like amount of pressure. I think that's actually fine. Like, the difference between putting him to 14 and putting him to 11 is a lot of the times the difference between a 1-turn kill and a 2-turn kill. It's like a pretty important break point here, right? Like, putting him to 11 is kind of huge, because that is in 1-turn kill range. But yeah, the clunkiness of this game was basically between Reckoner and Vagabond. We didn't really have enough of an ability like to curve out both while still leveling our Draven. Like, our Draven isn't leveled here for that. We're playing around Hush, so Retired Reckoner is definitely not really a better buff target than like Ruin Runner here. And we just want to like force a good block down. All we have to do is stay alive for basically this one attack, and I think we should have a lot of lethals next turn. I think that's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, Draven still has an attack off of Ruined Reckoner. I still have the ability to Whirling Death plus use my 0-mana thing, so Ruined Reckoner looks really good here. Like, Draven can level up and do a scary attack, and this is a turn where he's tapped under most re-response, right? Like, he's under Hush. He has a couple of options, but I think they're fine here. He could go for the... Wait. Interesting. It's just a payday, right? But yeah, this actually feels really good. Like, the Midnight Raid is nuts here. Zoe having Challenger. Wow. I mean, she could actually kill the Draven, or, like, force the Draven to Whirling her. You might have to pre-commit a gem. The question is he running, like, Pale Cascade? Because the Draven does not want to whirling the unit across from him, ideally. I think it has to here. Pre-committing Shapestone. I don't think that... Is that actually enough? Oh, he's just leveling the Zoe. That's it. But I think this Draven is still fine to live here. Yeah. He should basically always just kill the Draven here. I can just trade down the board, and we're only going... we're only taking 6 damage. He's actually not dragging with his Zoe. He just wants to keep her alive. Makes sense. I mean, you're getting the 0 mana Behold the Infinite off of that. So we do go into level up the Draven here. I think that just kind of has to be the best play. And we'll stop the Mountain Goat from striking. His card from Behold the Infinite might be kind of scary. And yeah, I mean, we're just leveling a Draven here. So the question is, which of these tools aren't we going to need anymore? I think the Retired Reckoner isn't going to be as necessary this game. And pretty much Profiteer. Because next turn, if I'm playing any card, it's Rune Runner. So the Draven will level off of this. And we've got our 0 mana Midnight Raid, which is honestly a pretty legitimate source of pressure. Like, this 0 mana Midnight Raid is a big deal. It's giving us 2 axes as well. Super good. Why not discard an axe? I mean, I could have done that. It would have been the same thing, I think, right? Because I'm pre-committing at least 1 discard into this turn anyway, right? The question is, when do I want to flip my Palace? It's focus speed and it's fleeting, so I want it to flip next turn. I actually intentionally don't want it to flip this turn, but I don't want to have to pre-commit anything into the flip. So I think I use exactly 1 Spinning Axe here, right? I use exactly 1 Spinning Axe so that combined with my Midnight Raid, the countdown goes to 1. So I just get the fleeting thing at the start of my next turn, which just gives me a bit more flexibility with it. I've actually noticed a few times with the Warlord's Palace, the fact that Relic of Power is fleeting, you really do, if possible, want to sometimes delay it a single turn so that you have just, yeah, that added flexibility. Like if I wanted to open attack with a Sandstone Charger, like let's say I had Absolver and open attacking with a 0 mana Sandstone Charger would actually be lethal, then I would only be able to do that if I intentionally triggered Palace the turn after off of the countdown, right? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, blocking that kind of has to be correct. This is cool board music. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this board music. This is really cool. And I think, I mean, I could see a few different arguments here. The scary Behold the Infinite thing he got, and the fact that his thing is focused too, and that could be a Sandstone Charger blocker, I might actually just open attack with my focus Sandstone Charger, and lock him out of his own. We have a lot of ways to turn that into lethal. I think that is the best play, yeah. Because we also have our Rune Runner, so he's light on the board because he sacrificed the chip. We'll do the focus speed thing that I talked about, and we'll just swing for it. I think this has to maximize our odds. We're still losing to, like, you know, a decent amount of Hush stuff. I don't know, maybe I'm not so behind. I feel like if I don't win this turn, I will lose the game. Like, he's putting me in a kind of a bad spot. It does suck that we could potentially just lose to Hush hands, though. I could have just played for the Overwhelm. Like, that was definitely a consideration, too. Just Rune Runner and then, like, his Sandstone blocker isn't really that effective of a blocker anyway. Interesting. Huh. I mean, if it's Hush, I need to force him to use that a little bit earlier, right? All right. I think we're good against hands now. I don't think he can beat me anymore. At 5 mana, I can't see a combo. So that game was really important. Just like the trick that we did of using the fleeting thing and making sure it was hitting the turn start off the countdown and allowing us to open attack with Sandstone Charger. We did that just because he committed the extra block, right? Well, we only used the Sandstone Charger because he blocked with the chip. If he hadn't blocked the Draven with chip, I would have used the countdown for something else. But yeah, being able to get the Charger's nice. We're up to 170 LP with this deck, which is, I mean, you know, it's been a few been a couple days since the climb, so I'm probably not that high ranked. Top 100. Cut Brothers Bond. So Brothers Bond isn't really in the deck for being a double target, right? Like, it's definitely a shame that interaction doesn't work, but it's not the main reason it's in the deck. Oh yeah, let me change the pet. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Like, here, I'll do Ellie. Like, if we want a pet that's gonna make annoying sounds, might as well be cute about it. Use Whirling on Akshan, level Akshan, and trade with Merciless Hunter instead of leaving Hunter up and make the Black Brown Draven really awkward. I mean, we are losing, I guess, like a spinning axe or two without it, but that doesn't really change the outcome of any matchup or any hand state. Akshan Echo Talia. All right, this princess powerful. It was always, you know, building around with Mimi shit. And honestly, in this kind of matchup, I think I'm actually pretty down to keep literally this entire hand. This hand looks premium. Like, I'm attacking on odds, so we curve the Draven. He doesn't really put early pressure, so we're fine not having any 1-drops. And we've got both Whirling and Grappling Hook that can be used on Draven on turn 3 and 4. Like, I can Minotaur on turn 4 as well, on like the defense turn. Yeah, I mean, it's literally always Draven over Vagabond here. I can Vagabond on turn 4 if I don't need to use like Ruined Reckoner or something though. Like, that still feels solid. Man, if only I had more champ slots, dude. This deck, if I had more champ slots. Because the funny thing is, Draven Riven has actually always had a problem with champ slots. Not even just like this version, but like any sort of Draven Riven deck always feels like it can do more if it has more champ slots. Because you're just so reliant on like buffing champions, basically. So he taps down to 3. I don't think he's really going to have much at 3 unless he's running Get Excited. I mean, that deck can run Get Excited. I do kind of want a Ruined Reckoner. Like, he might get forced into Get Excited at that point. We still do have enough. I could also just like pre-Grappling Hook. I have enough tricks that I don't think I need to, though. I guess it's actually probably better to Vagabond here. Huh, that's weird. I think the level triggers on this happening a little bit earlier actually reliably make more of a difference. The problem isn't champ slots. The problem is Riven is basically a follower. Riven's actually super scary in this deck, homie. Like, not just this deck, but any Riven deck. Riven's a pretty good card right now. She got buffed quite a bit since, like, probably when you were talking about. I mean, she used to be bad. So, I mean, I can Ruined here. I think attacking with Draven first makes a little bit more sense. Keeps me a little bit more flexible. I don't think there's really enough reason to attack with the Vagabond as well. I mean, he's not really getting value out of like a multi-trick here though. I guess I will just pre-attack with 1. Can he even deal with my Draven? Yeah, let's do this. I think we use 1 axe pre and attack with both. If he does a block and doesn't attach anything to that block, then I might attach a 2nd axe. Yeah, he actually goes for it.
I'm basically 1/8 gay.
I mean, what does he punish axe with here? It would literally be like quicksand. Like, even quicksand, even if he's like trolling and running quicksand, I think that's fine. In this hand, I might just not need Retired Reckoner. I actually think I can get value out of both the Ruined Reckoners, which is kind of funny. All right, this looks good. Lack of survival skills. Survival skills might be proper here. It becomes a little bit better with 2 Draven 3 biggest fan ratios. It is a pretty nutty card. I don't know if it's like good enough at protecting combos in this meta right now. Like, a lot of the things that are shutting down your units aren't killing them, even if you want to like protect through spell shield. But it does help some early positions. Don't get me wrong. Survival skills I do like as a card, and I do like it here. All right. So I mean, yeah, we're both just getting value out of this. Ruined Reckoner is super solid here. Like, we're doubling up on these buffs in a pretty crazy way, and we even have mana kept up after this, right? Like, we're still gaining more value. That's so crazy. Ruined Reckoner is a terrifying card, dude. I might actually build out like a version of Ruined Reckoner Zed, because like this card is also really hot with Zed. This is kind of the best card in the new set, except for like maybe Akshan and of course Absolver. Sorry, not Absolver. But yeah, Reckoner is crazy. It's just nuts value. It's like Rally with a body. Yeah, I mean, it has a deck building cost. You can't just like jam it into any deck. Like, it won't work in most kinds of aggro decks even, because most kinds of aggro decks burn through their units. But I mean, it works really well in like a slightly slower stuff like this. And this looks like a really good grappling hook. Super nice, just killing that Echo for free before he's able to do anything at all. When he's tapped under, he has nothing here. Like, obviously, scrying doesn't keep it alive. And we get an extra trigger, and we get 2 extra axes. Super solid. I mean, I don't... He almost can't punish me for blocking this Akshan. It would be like a weird shapestone into... I don't think he can, because I have whirling. Sure, do it. Okay, I'm fine with that. So that's pretty funny. I mean, he levels off of his own strike, but he still, the combat doesn't change, right? Like, he gains 3 health, which means if I had blocked with a, you know, some kind of 2 health unit or something, it would have been different, but this is good. And I think he's basically got nothing at this point. I mean, it's a little bit of arguably an unnecessary risk to go in on like the Draven this turn, but I guess Preservarium makes a little bit more sense. Like, I'll just use Ruined Reckoner on the Draven next turn. Yeah, and the Predict, I don't think can really get him anything here. Honestly, I mean, combining these kinds of concepts together, I think like Akshan in a Predict style deck doesn't really make too much sense. Unless I'm missing something. Alright. So, obviously board space issues. Sorry, hand space issues. So off of that, we level our Warlord's Palace on this turn, which will give us all the way back up to a 10 card hand because we discarded. We can open attack in a really scary way. I mean, this deck does have like really terrifying open attacks, or I can just do like the Predict to draw 1, right? We have quick attack on the Riven potentially. I think getting the extra ephemeral attacker here actually does... God, does that do more or less? I think my hand is kind of light on mana to the point where predicting on average will just do more. Only if it hits a trick. I mean, Akshan is leveled, and it will start getting the other horde. I mean, I'll go for it. I think this is probably improper to not open attack into this, but I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, this is the interaction, right? Like, because we didn't draw Akshan until later, but we drew the Vagabond, she flipped him pre-early because she gave us the Warlord's Palace, and now we can start like actually getting horde, and I can basically get horde literally this turn with this hand. I'm gonna try other Akshan decks. I might try Akshan Lee Sin. That's another one that has like big potential. Or I might mess around with like, I mean, I could build this kind of Akshan Noxus version in some very different ways as well. Like, there's a lot of considerations. Akshan is so hot. Yeah, I mean, he's forced to let that through, which kind of has to feel bad because he's basically never good here. Like, he doesn't even have real hard removal. Worst case scenario is like, yeah, just like a Get Excited or like a Quicksand or something. This is enough. No reason to commit more than this. Because the only thing you're playing around is like Get Excited at that point. All right, so I can level the palace. Okay, so this is the order of operations. This is focus speed, right? So what I should do is I should axe. I have exactly enough, right? So I axe on Draven. Or am I one short? No, I have exactly enough. I axe on Draven. I axe on Draven. I have to do it in this order. I actually can't Reckoner yet. I axe on Draven one more time. I use the last axe on the Whirling Death on Draven. Because this is focus speed, which means I wouldn't be able to use it if I had Reckonered first. And now I use this on the champions everywhere, +2/+2 and spell shields. And now the Ruined Reckoner has guaranteed lethal no matter what. I don't know. That's a little spooky. It's a little bit spooky for a deck that's like putting pressure early and has a lot of forking win conditions. Like, Akshan does hit this deck in a pretty major way. Like, he's a slapper here. Oh, that does feel good. Why is Retired Reckoner even this deck? You discard it frequently. Honestly, I mean, with this kind of champion plan, I might end up cutting it out. It's possible that there will be few enough spots for it. I mean, anything I would run in that slot would be a frequent discard. You know, like I want my cards to be useful when I don't have to discard things, and that's why stuff like Draven's Biggest Fan is fine, because usually when you already have Draven, you can just discard it. If you don't have Draven, you're happy you have it anyway, right? Like, a lot of the cards in this deck just want to be situational cards that help your spots when you don't have as much access to the discard. But it could be Retarded Reckoner out for something else. I could see it. I mean, the 3 Ruin, it definitely feels better for sure.